Right.
And we didn't deliberate.
I was gonna say, what is, you just
It was a
you just
declarative
spoke.
sentence.
You
Remember
just
the
spoke.
declarative sentences? It
You
was a
didn't,
declarative
right,
sentence.
right, nobody.
Good evening.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, and welcome to the August 20th, 2025 Yarmouth Planning Board meeting. I am Joanne Crowley, Chair. The public is welcome to attend our meeting in person or via alternative public access provided on the Town of Yarmouth website. Our meetings are generally held on the first and third Wednesdays of the month, but additional meetings are added when needed. I'll begin by taking roll call. Susan Britta.
Here.
Deirdre Gatequin.
Here.
Will Rubenstein.
Here.
Jim Saban. Peter Slovak.
Here.
Ken Smith.
Here.
Joanne Crowley, present. Seeing we have a quorum, I'll now call the meeting to order, and I would ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
to the United States of America,
To the republic, which stands one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy and I spent some time on the phone this afternoon, as we usually do. The first item on our agenda this evening is zoning amendments. In our packets for review this evening are several pieces of correspondence that Kathy has provided to us. One is the summary of the Select Board. You okay, Kathy? Should we wait?
Nope, keep going.
Okay. The summary of the meeting we had at the Select Board on August 12th. Last week, Susan and Deirdre joined me and Kathy at that meeting. Additionally, we have in our packet draft number 4 of the shellfish retail sales amendment, and the draft number 2, the same one we had last meeting on boat storage, and which has not changed. And Kathy's going to run us through a couple of things and review with us the meeting with the Select Board.
Sure. Probably do it like amendment by amendment. I'm sure some of you probably watched the Select Board meeting where Joanne and I presented the zoning articles at their August 12th meeting. I just wanted to summarize for everyone. Joyce was definitely more open to allowing. She asked the question about whether lobster sales was to facilitate the passage or whether it was some type of issues with the type of seafood. I think that's something that we can talk a little bit more when I get into the marine fisheries conversation that I had. Mark Forrest, he thought that he had discussed with the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries previously that it would be really hard to sell other types of shellfish. There's kind of like two kinds. So shellfish includes crustaceans and mollusks. Mollusks are all those things, the clams, mussels, oysters, scallops, and quahogs, and crustaceans are really just lobsters, crabs, and shrimp. And that there are some specific criteria with regard to sale of mollusks, and asked that we look into that a little bit more. Liz Argo thought that maybe with the upcoming town meeting, it might make some sense to limit it to lobster sales and investigate further expansion if we need to, depending on our research. Tracy asked some questions about the health department and but they would need to be doing some type of an inspection, but she had some comments with regard to the signage. She was concerned that it might be neon or illuminated and maybe we needed to put some additional guardrails on that particular thing. And then she also expressed some caution about sculpting zoning that would apply to one person and wanted more information from the marine fisheries. And then she did ask one question, was that her last question was about the retail sales was being shown as being allowed by special permit in other districts besides the residential zoning districts. So that's something that we had made some edits to. So I'm sorry, I don't have that inserted here, but the marine fisheries, the sale of mollusks can only be sold by the harvester to a wholesaler, so they can't sell it directly to retail. The exception is if it's an aquaculture where the grower, harvester, and wholesaler are one and the same person, but currently Yarmouth doesn't have any wholesalers. Live lobsters and crab sales are more likely as there's fewer regulations associated with that. And we also have no native shrimp, so it really would just be live lobsters and crabs. Other types of fish like tuna, bluefish, and mackerel, they're much more restricted because they are what are called histamine-producing species, and they require very specific handling so that they don't get toxins in there and cause some serious illnesses. And that's the reason why you can't sell tuna directly from your boat. There's also the sale of other types of fin fish, such as black sea bass and flounder, are allowed via a limited entry system, which means they're managed access, and there's only so many permits. You can't get a new permit. You might be able to get something that is transferred. And then he just discussed the various different types of retail options that they would permit. One would be a retail boat at the dockside. That means literally in your boat at the dock. A retail truck where people could sell it out of their truck, kind of basically what Mr. Tolley's doing exactly right now. Then there's also a farmer's market retail sales, and then there's the retail stores. We only have 3 retail stores in town: Stop and Shop, Shaw's, and I think it's Andrea's Market, fish market at the lobster boat. So he was very helpful to get some additional information out there, and he'd be more than happy to answer any questions that get derived tonight from you guys. But taking kind of all of that into consideration, the proposal that is before you here is the draft 4. Again, the yeses are all highlighted because I took that note out of there. Town council requested that it be a completely separate note and not part of note 7. He thought it would be cleaner in order to do that. So it's note 55. Yes,
All the way up to 55.
We can laugh at that, yeah. And he also did provide some guidance on if we were going to be allowing lobster sales only. And the stuff that's highlighted and red and crossed out is the direct edits from our last version. So it would be just accept that retail sales in the residential zoning district shall require a special permit from a zoning board of appeals and shall be limited to lobster sales only. In addition, other applicable special permit requirements, individuals selling legally harvested or caught lobsters shall be in compliance with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations, may only sell what has been personally caught or harvested by the resident of the property, and the lobsters must be sold whole and not prepared or processed. Special permits for retail lobster sales shall expire upon transfer of the property. That was something that was discussed at our last meeting. And then signage for retail sale of lobsters shall be limited to 1 A-frame style sign, not to exceed 6 square feet in area, and to be located in the property during the hours of operation, which may be further conditioned via the special permit. And that's the edits from town council on just if we wanted to go just lobsters. One of the things that I did talk to Mark Grills about with regard to the signage, things like neon signs, like those signs that you put in your windows, those are only allowed in the B2 zoning district anyway, so they wouldn't be allowed anywhere else. LED lights obviously are very, very limited, and when we allow LED, that's basically gas station, gas prices, and our community information boards, so that wouldn't be a possibility. But there is the possibility of them illuminating it. Some sandwich boards, I think, I just was looking, they actually have the illumination in it, or somebody could put a little spotlight and have it illuminated as long as they're not creating glare off the property. So I think the discussion for you guys is whether you want to specify that it's a non-illuminated A-frame, or whether you guys don't care and you want to leave it and let it be illuminated and apply with the sign bylaw. One thing that I did get out of talking with the state was there's a very big difference, I think, between selling something that's live, like live lobsters and live crabs, versus something that's dead, like fish, which may be more prone to things like odors, some of the things that Joyce was talking about that might be of concern. So I think there is a very difference of what would be more impactful to the neighborhood, and I think maybe live lobsters would be less impactful from the discussions that we've had. I also did go through and just left it as we originally had it and added in these town council's additional comments that he had included when we were just doing it with the lobsters, including that language with regard to expiring upon transfer of the property. So you kind of have 2 options. One is to limit it to lobsters, and maybe, and we could talk about signage, and we might want to say must be sold live and not prepared or processed. That way it's very clear. You don't want to eat or cook a dead lobster, people. Do not do it. You'll get food poisoning from what my research has shown. So it's almost a double positive belt and suspender situation there, because all of these things have to go through the health department and the state health department, and you're not allowed to sell a dead lobster. So I guess it's up to you guys on kind of how you want to proceed, or if you have any questions.
Yeah, Kathy and I discussed maybe the review for tonight. So it looks like there are, on the basic language here, if we're comfortable with the basic language and we need to make a couple of adjustments, we wanted to talk about the word live, inserting that somewhere, maybe in a couple of different places, and then because that clarifies and follows what the Division of Marine Fisheries actually sent to us in referring to live lobsters. So I think that's kind of a bit of a no-brainer, I think. We should probably follow their language. But the other piece was the sign, which Tracy Post, our member of the Select Board, did bring out about lighting. And maybe we have language in there that the sign is non-illuminated. So that's what I'd like to open up for discussion and kind of poll each of you as to how you're feeling about it. I know I'm just presenting this now, and I apologize for that, but Kathy and I were just meeting this afternoon, and this kind of popped up. So whoever would like to start, it's really about the live and the non-illumination.
Madam Chair, I'll jump in
Mr. Smith?
on that. And I have no issues at all with the non-illuminated sign. I think it's appropriate, especially in a residential area. If we're going to restrict it to one A-frame sign, I think it's more than appropriate to keep it as a non-illuminated sign, and I'm fine with the word live. I do have a couple of questions with some of the information that came up, and one of them, I wanted just to get a clarification on the aquaculture, the harvesting, currently we don't have any wholesalers currently in town. Does that fall under the agriculture category? I guess is what I'm trying to get clarification on. This is from Stony Reed, because that's today, we don't have any wholesalers in town. What happens next week if somebody decides to start raising oysters? So I just wanted to get some clarification on that. I know it's not what we're talking about, but I'm just looking for an answer. And then I guess some clarification question on one thing. Could we restrict a time of sale within this or not? Saying if they're going to sell residentially, it's only available from X to X. So somebody's not out there at 6:30 in the morning or at 9:30 at night. I think that takes away some of the concerns trying to think about the residential aspect of all this.
I think that's possible. The way it's written now is we kind of left.
The way
it
it's
up.
written now, it's not in there. I'm asking the question, could it be in there?
Well, it just says to be located on the property during hours of operation, which may be further conditioned via the special permit.
Yep.
So we could try putting something in, or we can leave it like this and ask the public if they're interested in having specific hours, if that's something that would make them feel better. I think Mr. Tolley had very specific hours that he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and they weren't outrageous. I think
No,
they were from a very
and I
reasonable-
respect what that, but if we're putting in there and opening up this box, then I think we better make sure that we have every base covered. And I just wanted to throw that out there for some clarification purposes.
I just don't know what would be the appropriate times I don't know when somebody brings lobsters in, and so I didn't know
To me,
the
it's not,
answer.
to me, it's not really about setting hours. I'm not trying to run a storefront, but to me, it's about the practice. If you're gonna do it, I don't want you doing it at 10:30 at night from your driveway.
Right.
Because that's when your boat came in.
Right, because that's when your boat came in, exactly. I'm trying to, we're asking to do something that's out of the norm in a residential area, and all I'm trying to do is respect people's neighborhoods and trying to set some sort of parameter that we take that into consideration.
Do you have a suggestion?
My feeling about it is not available after sunset. I mean, that changes throughout the year, but,
In the morning? How early in the morning?
I hadn't really thought about that, to be honest with you.
What are the hours now, 4 to 6:30? I think that's it, the sign on 28 said it's
I believe that.
4:30 or 4, I can't remember what the sign said.
6:30-ish.
Something like that. I think it's 4:30 to 6:30 or 4 to 6:30.
Sounds right.
It's one of those two.
I mean, I understand that Mr. Tolley's timeframes are very restrictive and very narrow. Right now, today, there isn't anybody else doing it, but what happens tomorrow if I decide to start selling lobsters and I'm gonna do it at 11 o'clock at night, because that's when I'm available to do it? I think my neighbor would be really upset with me, so.
I agree with you, Madam Chair, may I?
Yes,
But
please.
the last sentence of this does say that the property, hours of operation which may be further conditioned. So doesn't that allow the zoning board, which is gonna
That's where
have to do this anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, instead of writing particular hours at our stop on the railroad, I'm actually totally fine with giving our friends at the zoning board, which I'm assuming they will gladly take the baton, of establishing hours. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that if they're already going to be conditioning other things, and it relates to signs as well, I just want to throw that in. I'm okay with the way it's written, because I am very confident that our friends on the ZBA will establish hours when they write the special permit. That's the same way I feel about the signs, Ken. I hear what you're saying, and I am definitely sensitive as you are to the neighborhood, but I would imagine that our friends at the ZBA would also be conditioning the signs as well. And for us to condition it before they do, again, not opposed to it, I just assume, based on their track record and the way that they operate, that they're gonna do a pretty good job of narrowing everything from here even further in the funnel.
Yeah, well,
I think
Madam
we're saying
Chair-
the same thing.
Yeah,
but I-
we are, Will. Madam Chair, I just wanted to rebut that just a second. We are conditioning it. We're saying you can have one A-frame sign on your lot. And all I'm adding to that is non-illuminated. I don't think that's conditioning
You're right.
any further, so.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't bother me. I hear where you're coming from.
Peter, your thoughts?
I would agree with what Ken has, what stated. I mean, live, I would prefer to see live and not illuminated, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Susan?
one last question before you go to
Sure,
Susan?
sure.
Sorry, since we're going in this direction. It seems like, just to go back up one step, based on what the gentleman from DMF wrote, we can't have, we can only go live lobster. We can't go for option 2 here.
Right, but he consistently used the word live lobster. so
Right, but I
think
meant
we
in
are-
terms of the two things that are before us, the second one says, including, blah, 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 or caught seafood, including but not limited to fish, shellfish, lobsters, and crabs. Well, it sounds like, based on what the Mr. Case said, Mr. Reed, sorry,
Yeah.
we have to limit it just to live lobsters.
Yeah.
No, lobsters need to be sold live. But if you go with option 2, where you're having the fish, it's listed as being sold whole. Because if you have a fish, it's not alive. I mean,
I don't-
Those can't,
sorry.
because of
Yeah.
what you learned today.
Be sold anyway.
Those can't be sold anyway.
Right, that's how I read it.
I'm,
That's how I read it,
I
too.
think we're focusing, I think
there's
I
two
was
issues
trying
you
to
brought up.
focus on
Sorry.
option 1.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, I don't, so let me ask it, let me say it a different way. I'm in favor of option 1 versus option 2. That's the information you're trying to get, Madam Chair, as we're polling.
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
And yes,
I'm in favor of option 1.
Yeah.
and I do think the word live should be inserted before the word lobster in this draft, or however you see fit.
yeah, the legally harvested and caught live, obviously they're catching them live. So I don't know whether it becomes something where lobsters must be sold live and not prepared or processed.
I'll
Well, in
defer.
that very first sentence,
Right.
Kathy,
Live
and shall be limited to live lobster sales only.
Only.
And then at the very end, signage for retail sale of live
Live
lobsters.
lobsters.
I would insert that as well.
Ahead of me, people. So, limited to live lobster
Right.
sales.
Sales only, right.
Maybe that's all you need to put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need to put it everywhere?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it's up to you. I don't,
Limited to live lobster
to our
sales
town
only.
council.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, certainly.
If we use it in one place in front of lobster, we should use it in every place. That's consistent with legal interpretation. Don't use it in one place and not use it, because some lawyer's gonna sit there and say, it only pertains to sentence number 1, let's use it every place that lobster. I don't
No
think
one's
it-
gonna sell
I don't
a
think it
dead
detracts.
lobster.
I don't think it detracts. And I think it really clarifies, it's live lobster every time we mention it's gotta be live.
So there's 2 other places we need to put it in.
And I think it should say live lobster. Every
Special
time we say
permits for-
lobster, I think we should say
Okay.
live lobster.
I don't think it detracts from anything.
So, so we would say legally harvested, caught live lobsters. And the
Retail
live
sale of
lobsters.
lobsters,
be sold.
and then
So special permits for
live lobsters.
live retail lobster sales,
Exactly.
and then at the very end, signage for retail sale of live lobsters. Wow,
You guys are too fast for
you
me.
said the word lobster is more
Special
times than I
permits
ever
for
thought we would.
retail sales of live lobsters? Is that where you're putting it?
I think it also helps our friends at the zoning board of appeals as well.
Deirdre?
Yes, I was just counting.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not
sorry,
finished.
that's
You're not-
some
go
permits,
ahead.
too.
Sure.
I also like the first option as opposed to the second. The more restrictions we have, the better.
But I'm very aware of Ken's concern about the hours. What I'm concerned about is, let me ask you a question. When they apply, I think when they apply for a permit, they're gonna have to indicate hours of operation.
On the permit, correct, Kathy? When they go to zoning to apply for a zone, they're gonna have to say hours of operation.
Typically, they do, and if they don't do it, the ZBA always asks. They're
Yeah.
very
All
particular
right, so
about it.
that will give them an opportunity to sort of standardize 4 to 6:30 or 5 to 7 or whatever it is. So that what I don't want to see happen is one guy get a permit that's limited 4 to 6:30, and someone else comes in and says, oh, I gotta have it 5 to 8. And then you're gonna have separate hours, same zoning, but different hours, and that raises hackles among, the residents. So to the extent that we could signal to the zoning, whatever they decide to do in terms of hours, it should be standard. There should be little opportunity to have like designer hours, because I don't think that's consistent with what we're doing here anyway. We're introducing a commercial activity in a residential neighborhood. So the more restrictions we have, or the more standardized in terms of practice, I think the better it would be. I don't think we should put it in here, because I think it's too hard to determine. The zoning board should determine it, because
From the application, I think the application would say, and then they can say, gee, we just issued a permit last week, 4 to 6:30, we want to be consistent, and therefore we're going to limit you 4 to 6:30, even though your application says 5 to 8 or something like that. So I think that would be, if we can signal to them, or maybe they're just listening to this conversation tonight, it would help them. But I don't know, I don't think we can put it in here and make it reasonable, because there may be some people that will want to do something longer than 4 to 6:30 with a reasonable explanation, and zoning might be able to accommodate them. I just don't, I think it's an issue. I do think the hours are a definite issue. That's number one. Number two, and I bring this up all the time, I brought it up with boat storage, and I'll bring it up again. What if there's an ADU on the property? Can they also sell lobsters?
If they're meeting all the requirements, I would think that
So
they
you could have two activities on the same property.
Just by the resident of the property.
Like the resident, so if there's an ADU on the property, they also could apply for a permit to, okay. And there's no restriction if the property's leased. The only way the owner could restrict it would be to say
It
in
is
the
leased.
lease, you cannot sell lobsters from the, okay. So even if it's leased, they can apply for a permit. Even if there's an ADU on the property, they can apply for a permit. That's what we're authorizing.
So do you have a suggestion on language as to how we would limit it to a single permit issued to this property?
Yeah,
I think that's how you limit it, right there.
limited to the address.
Kathy, you're shaking your head.
I just think we're really slicing the bologna really
Don't
thin.
forget, Kathy, what we're doing. I mean, the residential neighborhoods are under assault. We're now,
Likelihood of,
Likelihood of two
Two
lobster
lobster
salesmen in the
men.
same
you know what,
property?
I know, you can't, it's like trying to legislate,
Harvested by the
From the grave, and you can't. But this is a real live issue. ADUs are a real live issue. The state are pushing them very, very hard. We're very proud of saying we're a boating community, and if someone has got an ADU on the property and they want to do it, what's the town's position going to be?
I think it states that it's the resident of the property, and then ZBA is gonna decide the hours that are reasonable for that property.
Right.
And also, maybe one ADU is on a different side street. I think ZBA is gonna have to understand what they're tasked with doing when it comes to maybe multi-units on a property.
So you
I
don't think the
they will.
planning board should mention at all the ADU issue?
I think we would.
It came up
I-
under
I-
the storage issue. I mean, I obviously would mention it, because I'm very restrictive on stuff like that. But, it may not be,
The boat storage is not going for a special permit, though.
it
Doesn't
doesn't
have to.
matter. It's going to be activity on the property. But I'm just interested in how the board feels about whether we should address it at all.
I think I agree with Peter in terms of, that's why we have the ZBA, for these kind of refinements, if you will. And certainly if someone came forward and wanted to have 2 permits issued on a property and it just didn't seem right and there was enough public outcry, they would take care of it.
Although, can I tell you, as a member of the zoning board, one of the major complaints, at least when I was there, was, we got no guidance from planning. Planning didn't say anything about this. They left it sort of hanging, so I don't know whether we could, I'm going to say it in a transmittal letter, I don't know. I think it's an issue, though, and I think if it's an open issue, it will become an issue. And I don't know whether we should,
you could say, special permits for retail live lobster sales shall expire upon transfer of the property.
do we limit it to the
One
address?
special permit for retail shall be issued per,
Address.
I wouldn't say address, because
Address.
an ADU has a separate address.
Right.
You want to say per parcel.
Lot per
I think it's
lot?
per parcel.
Per parcel? Is that the legal word, parcel? I think it is, isn't it?
Legal word for a piece of land is parcel, so.
What if it's a condo? I'm just talking out loud now, so, right? I mean, what's a,
Yeah, exactly.
one parcel ID?
Yeah. If you have a
Every
small
condo
cottage
or-
colony, you don't want 12 people selling their lobsters.
Right.
Right.
The competition is, important to the free market.
See, this is the
Sorry,
danger.
okay, all right.
This is the
Sorry, you led
danger-
me there. I
Yeah,
couldn't just leave it alone.
This is the
Sorry.
danger when you start doing what I call designer zoning. When you're trying to solve one particular problem and you open up a can of worms.
You could. These are, like you say, the unintended consequences. Did Deirdre have any?
I'm not sure where we landed on this in terms of,
Oh, I think we're going to add in special permits, after the special
Single
permit, transfer
permit.
property, only one special permit may be issued per parcel.
Okay.
Only one special
Okay,
permit for live
great.
lobster sales.
And Susan, it's fair to say that Kathy's going to talk to town council again.
Yeah, he
And I
may say you
assume,
can't do that.
and then we'll talk about this particular issue as well, and then I assume we'll hear something before the public hearing.
Right.
Deirdre,
I also think option one is the only way to go, and that, adding live and I think both have specifying non-illuminated and one per parcel sound like good ideas. I was curious about if the hours could be handled. I was wondering why the last line change had been made from shall to may, and maybe we should put it back to
Yeah.
hours of operation shall be conditioned via the special permit.
That's the way it was, and that was changed by town council. I don't think he I don't think he understood what we were trying to get at there, which is, we're really talking about conditioning
Agree
the
with
hours
you.
of operation. So I can ask town council about that.
And I think that the consistency that Susan mentioned might be problematic, because what if somebody wants to sell them from 10 to 12 in the morning and somebody else from 5? I think they're really different, people would have different schedules and
That's what
whatever.
Kim was saying.
Yeah,
yeah, I think the lobsterman or woman might have two jobs.
that's right.
And could be a nurse, at night or in the day. And so I do have a suggestion on maybe saying during daylight hours.
That makes sense.
And then the constriction can happen at the zoning board of appeals. But we don't want it happening at night.
Right.
But I'd be kind of annoyed if they started selling them at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, but this is lobster season now. You're right. This is when we have the most daylight.
Sell them from a pier. That's really the answer to this.
So property during daylight hours, which may be further conditioned via the special permit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or you could
Or
keep
shall.
shall, put it back to shall.
Because you're
Shall be.
literally saying you got to define that further.
I think if you limit it to that they shall be conditioned, I think we're really splitting hairs now.
Yeah, okay.
I really do. I
Okay.
think that if it says shall, I think it covers, let ZBA figure it out. And if you got a complaint that they're selling them 6 in the morning, then you,
If they're not supposed
Pick
to
up the
be,
phone.
then they'll be, right.
that's right.
So no daylight hours?
That's what I'm, what
That's
what
what,
do
I'm
we
one
think?
person, so.
That's all right.
You started this, Ken.
I know I did. I know
So
I
you've come
did.
full circle.
No, what I'm saying, and Will's correct, and everyone's correct, actually. I think if you change it to shall
Yeah.
with conditions,
I think that-
and the conditions are set by ZBA,
Exactly.
I think they're all hearing what we're having to say, is that there should be some conditions. And I agree with Deirdre and everyone that said it. I would be upset if my neighbor was selling lobsters at 6 in the morning, and I'd be upset if he was selling it at 11 o'clock at night, so.
And it also helps what Susan said earlier, we are giving clear direction as the planning board.
Yeah.
We are, by saying shall,
Shall,
not may.
you must
Deirdre, I appreciate you catching that, because that's a pretty big help,
It's a very big
I
help.
think, to the whole issue, without having to say too much more.
Okay, so strike daylight, I think. Okay, good.
So what I'll do is I probably will type this tippy-tap up and then run it by you, just to make sure that I think I got it. I think it's pretty clear. And we'll use that.
Can I just, I have one last question about signage. We've said it's limited to, but then we say later that there's further conditions allowed. Right?
Actually, the whole intent of that last line, and I don't think town council understood, was that you're going to be conditioning the hours of operation via the special permit.
So basically, the sign issue is we have spoken. It's
Yes.
one sign and we'll have unilluminated, right? I think we're also adding in.
Yep,
So there's no, because what I wrote here in my notes is, when I saw further conditioned, I thought that meant, could someone ask for more signs? And that's what I wanted to make sure, and I assume everybody agrees, we're not willing to leave open a gate to have people have more signs, whether they're on their property or, as was discussed earlier, out on Route 28, which is of course how we all got here. So I just wanted to make sure we weren't leaving that open and it was in fact closed.
If you put a comma after the word operation, I think that might get it.
I'll defer to you and to the
You're
town
right.
council.
You
I don't
could read
know.
it that way, that the
That's
sign.
what I wrote down. I wrote, does this mean I can have more signs?
Yes.
And different kinds of signs?
It does.
Because I'm
that-
allowing
that it's
ZBA to
confusing.
condition it.
Yep.
And I guess the very last question I have, Madam Chair, is if we just imagine for a minute, and I know we're going to have a public hearing in a couple of weeks, if we just imagine that we are Mr. Tolley's neighbors and we've read this, how do we feel? I think that's sort of where my head has been the last couple of weeks, because while I agree with Ms. Britta that this is not necessarily the situation we want to be in, I think it's fair to say, where it's such a very, very narrow amendment that has to go to town meeting, that essentially solves one problem for one person. That's not where we'd like to be. I guess the real question is, even though we may not like to be here, are we actually solving the problem that we're trying to solve?
Yep.
And as a neighbor, I would think by giving the ZBA all the rights it already kind of has anyway, and a little more direction based on some of the edits tonight, I would think that if I was Mr. Tolley's neighbor, I would be happy for him, but also know that there were some restrictions that seem entirely reasonable. That doesn't mean we will hear other things during our zoning hearing, Madam Chair, but it just feels like reasonable people trying to help a situation that was sort of thrust upon us. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm going back to what you just said
Uh-oh.
before that.
Should have been
I-
quiet.
No, that's all right. I think the end of that sentence, "shall be further conditioned," refers only to signage.
Right.
That's right.
That's what I want.
No.
Or is it the hours?
No,
refers
signage-
only to the
si-
hours.
It has signage for the sale of lobsters shall be limited to one A-frame, not to exceed 6 square feet, to be located on the property during the hours of operation. That all relates to the sign.
The which shall, so then the which shall we have to then bring.
Hours of which shall be governed, because it's the hours.
Okay.
Then
So there should be a period after the word operation.
Separate sentence.
Separate, yeah.
Separate.
Should be a period after
hours of
operation.
operation, period.
Right, because we don't want to, right, because we don't want to,
Shall be further
Yeah.
conditioned, yep. Break it into
and it was,
two
and
sentences.
it was unilluminated, is that the right word?
Non-illuminated.
Non-illuminated, sorry.
So it's just during the hours of operation, period, and then say the hours of operation shall be conditioned via the special permit.
Perfect.
There's lots of,
Hopefully town council, you're welcome. Hopefully town council will give us 2 big thumbs up.
Okay, we okay? We're moving on? Okay.
good.
Next item on our agenda is the amendment for boat storage. We have draft number 2, which did not change from our last meeting. And we want to go through this again with the objective to reach some relative consensus on what we put forward to the public, that we are comfortable with having that public conversation about this. So, nothing has changed here. You did, Kathy, you've got some comments from the select board on this, so you want to remind us on those? Why don't we go through those?
I think Joyce Flynn was really open to allowing people to do more things on their property and understanding the difficulty of trying to get the boats behind the house, especially if you have a narrow side yard or larger front yard. But she didn't understand that you really wanted to retain the on-site parking. She thought she would be flexible with the boat location. She had no opinion on the seasonality of the boats in the driveway, but liked the setting of a maximum length of the boat and limiting them to a single boat on a single residential property to avoid it becoming a commercial endeavor. I think the thing that prevents it from becoming a commercial endeavor is the boats need to be your boats. If you have unregistered boats that are registered boats to someone else, then Mark can come in and say, you're running something funny here. You've got a commercial business in a residential zoning district. So That's just something I wanted to put out there. Liz, she just wanted to confirm that, again, like what Susan was saying, that the homeowners can limit the tenant boats via their lease, and that the language as written would allow for shrink-wrap boats in the driveway. Once that was all confirmed for her, she indicated she was okay with the draft language, but later, after hearing Mr. Forrest's comments, she said she would be okay with taking out the seasonal language. Mark Forrest was probably the most positive and most for changes. He did drive around town and saw a lot of recreational boats in areas where they shouldn't be, but he also noted that in order to put it to the side of the house, you'd have to do a lot of buffer vegetation removal, which he thought might be more intrusive for people than having the boat in the front. He also noted that as a coastal boating community, there's a lot of people who would benefit beyond Mr. Childs with regard to these particular types of amendments. He was in favor of eliminating the seasonal clause, kind of because of what Mark Grills had said, because we spent too much time already on boat enforcement, but he felt that we were on the right track. He did do some investigations on other Cape Cod communities to see whether they had anything on boats, and he didn't find anything.
Did he say what that involved, his investigation?
I think his investigation was talking to Mark, who looked in the zoning bylaws for like 4 or 5 other communities. I don't know whether he did anything beyond that, but I did have a conversation with Mark, and he said he had looked up quite a few, and he couldn't find anything on it. So, but then the original impetus for the 1970 bylaws, he thought, was more related to issues with campers and RVs. Tracy was not in support of it in 2019, and she is not in support of it today. She continued to express concerns about the aesthetics of some of the boats, and that she didn't feel like this was really the vision for our community. She also thought it was a bit of a slippery slope, allowing for other things like campers in the front yards, and then again, concerns with people who would end up parking on the street if they had their boat in their driveway. She did further state that including the seasonal requirement is better as something that might be a potential eyesore would not be located in the driveway all year round. So clear as mud. But as Joanne said, because it was no clear particular directive, what you're looking at today is what you looked at before, and kind of seeing what you wanted to talk about. I think the main thing that we're talking about really is the seasonality of it, or whether you want to leave it as is to present to the public.
Yeah, the two issues, I think, not issues, but provisions in this particular amendment, the boat length and the seasonality were the two. So I'd like to get some sense of the board on those. Again, with the idea we want to try to get something out to the public, that we'll have a public hearing and we'll hear from the public on where they stand on this. But I'd like to get our best effort in terms of getting something out there that they can chew on. So, comments? Susan? Ms. Britta?
Piggyback on Ken's earlier comments, the more restrictions we can offer, I think the easier it's going to be to convince people that this is a legitimate use in a residential neighborhood. I think that seasonality should be considered. I think the length of the boat should be considered, and I think the number of boats on the site should be considered. That was all discussed, I think, at the selectmen meeting. The one thing that happened that I think they misunderstood when they read the original language, because I spoke to both Mark and Tracy afterwards, they did not understand that the language as drafted would allow you to put 2 boats on the lot, one in back and one in the driveway. And I said, no, that's not our intent. It may be our intent, but that's not fixed. That's just what we've written now, but there's been no universal agreement on that at all.
Susan, can you talk into your mic? I can't even hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I think because, like we did with the lobster issue, residential neighborhoods are under siege. I just wrote down 6 things right now that we allow in residential neighborhoods that are residential neighborhoods. People buy in a town, in a residential neighborhood, and they have reasonable expectation that the town will protect their investment. Some of this is driven by the state, some we have no control over. But we are allowing boat storage, at least some version of boat storage. We have limited, we're saying on that one at least, not on the lobster, at least we're limiting it to one, sale, commercial sale, but we're allowing commercial sales, lobster sales in residences. Right now, you can have a home business in a resident. You can have childcare centers, which we have no control over. Once they apply, they get the permit. And they meet certain conditions, but they get the permit. One of the conditions, by the way, is they're allowed to have chain link fences, which is, I think, the only place that they're allowed in residential neighborhoods, in a childcare center. They're allowed to have that. And then, I think Mark mentioned at meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, that the state has just lifted all restrictions on elder care centers at homes, so that people can run elder care. There had been restrictions similar to childcare, but those restrictions are all now gone. And so I think there was a restriction on certain parking hours, stuff like that. He said those have all been eliminated, and he just found that out last week. And then, of course, the big one is ADUs. So residential neighborhoods, and they are the backbone of our tax base. I mean, as everyone knows, we have a skewed tax base. Residents pay more than businesses do. And I think the more we do to, and if you look at the definition of zoning, it says that zoning is supposed to be used to ensure consistency in land use. And that generally is what it does. Certain size homes, certain size lots, as well as protect property value and neighborhood character. And every time we're considering something that detracts from that, I think we should take it very seriously. And on boat storage, it is a huge issue. It's a very sensitive issue in my neighborhood because it is consistently violated. And because everyone wants to be a good neighbor, no one calls Mark, unless it's the bad one that was halfway in the street, and you couldn't even get down the street. And then Mark did, and we called and something happened. So I think we have to take it, I think we have to come up with something that still protects the character of a neighborhood and property values, while at the same time recognize that there is a reasonable use for your property. But does that reasonable use conflict with the overall character of the neighborhood? And that's a tough thing to figure out. But I do think the more restrictions we have, the better it will be from an explanation point of view for people. Because some people consider boating a hobby, and they don't want to see, as Tracy very clearly said, she does not want to look out her front door and see boats and trailers across the street. That's not the character of a residential neighborhood. And a ton of people feel that way. So if we limit it to, I don't know, size and seasonality, and either in the driver or in the back, I think that sort of softens her concerns. But we're considering two things tonight: the storage and the lobster, that again detract from the residential neighborhood characteristics and property values. And so I am all for restricting as much as we can, and the way this is written, I absolutely would not support it. It opens up parking everywhere. It opens up 2 boats on a piece of property, parking in the street. There's no requirement, you can't park. So I just don't think that that's the right thing, and I certainly don't think that's what preserves property values or neighborhood character.
Madam Chair, I'll add quickly to that. I appraise the last 3 or 4, 5, there's not many subdivisions anymore, but the last few that I've appraised, all the covenants for subdivisions don't allow boat parking anywhere, outside of their garage or camper parking or anything. So people are looking for that, that they want to buy a lot in a subdivision with consistency and without having to look at boats or campers or anything.
Clotheslines, even some of them don't allow clotheslines.
So,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'll
Mr.
jump
Chair.
in and, to echo a little bit of what Susan's saying on the amount and the length, 100% on board with that. I think we should take a look at restricting the amount of boats, the length of the boat that's on the property. I did a little informal survey with some of my friends that own boats and talked to them a little bit about it. They are fortunate enough to be able to park either in a marina or beside their house at the moment, but they're coming back to me, which echoed to me is, look, if you're looking to put it in the driveway, and this may not be the case in all, and I hear everybody, but if you for example, the petitioner who brought this in front of us in the beginning, he can't get it beside his house. So what is he supposed to do? And I guess I would not have where I'm going with it is if we put it with a restriction of April through November, well, what's he doing on November 2nd? Park it in the street? He has no place to put his boat. So I do think the seasonality, if we kept the restrictions on the amount, the size, I wouldn't have an issue giving that up. The one thing I do, and I feel strongly about though, is I think this on-site, well, what does on-site mean? Because on-site to me means if you put the boat in the driveway and now you have no place to park in your driveway, so I'm gonna park my car on the lawn. So I think we gotta take a hard look at how we restrict that adequate driveway parking for the additional vehicles. It's the second to last, the last sentence, where it says adequate on-site parking remains for the property. Well, to me, on-site means anywhere on my property at that point.
On-site driveway parking?
I guess I'm asking for some help.
Yeah,
Driveway
refer to it as driveway.
Right.
So are you going to identify the surface of the driveway? Grass, gravel, pavement, asphalt? Are they going to put it, shells, pavers? Because they're just going to park it they're going to park it on the other side of the house or in the other setback area. It's not going to solve the problem. It's going to put it 10 feet off of someone's house on the other side. So you're going to have boats and cars in the front of the house
Right.
now.
We have a very small lot and a very small driveway, so we put in one of those gravel parking pads so that people can park in front of our house. So we don't have a boat and don't intend to get one, but conceivably, we could park it on that if we said on
It
site.
needs to be on your property.
But it is our, it's the first.
Lip.
Yeah, but that's probably an easement, so it's not really our property.
Yeah, everyone says there's a road layout, and the road layout goes beyond the edge of the pavement that's part of that layout.
Yeah.
If you're on a private road, it becomes a little bit more confusing as to who owns that. All of your comments are very, very valid, and that's kind of why it went away before, because there's so many questions, and good questions. I don't know how to write it that wouldn't be 5 pages long to cover everything that's being talked about. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but
Madam Chair, I'll finish. I think just without a seasonal restriction, you are going to get, at some point in some neighborhood, people abandoning their boats in their driveway
That's what Max said.
forever.
Or Max said they go to Florida, and he'll be chasing them down in
Or
Florida.
the economy shifts and they can't afford to have the boat, or it breaks down. And it may not be a nice white shrink wrap, might be a blue tarp from Job Lot, with
That's what
some
Tracy's
duct tape
concerned
and some
about.
string, and
Yeah,
you're welcoming
yep.
more problems, possible problems.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think it was mentioned earlier, this was thrust back upon us. It wasn't something we were looking to get in the middle of. And I was just trying to think about what is the problem that was brought to us and that we were asked to solve.
That he could not get his boat beside the house.
Right. So that's what I keep coming back to is,
In back of the house, because he was going under the current zoning, which said it had to be in back of the house.
no,
Beside.
it's
Beside
beside
the
the
fitted.
front face of your
Front
property.
face of the house, Susan.
Will's got, keep talking, Will, you got a good idea going here.
well, no, I'm just, I don't know if I do or not. So I think what we've done though is we've expanded, right? We've now gone from 1 boat to 2.
Not
Right, because it
necessarily.
says exception, right? So everything that isn't red, so anything that's in black and white is what the existing zoning is, right? So, oh, actually, you're right. It doesn't say the number of boats.
No,
Okay, my bad.
I think if you want to solve the problem, and I appreciate you
That's what-
keep bringing it back
that's
to
what I'm-
solving the problem.
I'm trying not to
Joanne
create more
mentioned it
problems.
to me today. Why not allow it via special permit? If you cannot locate it behind the front face of your building, and you have very legitimate reasons that you can't do that.
Right.
Why not say you can go to the ZBA for an alternate location, provided that all these things
Okay, and
There
then,
would be public notice.
and Mrs. Britta, I think would also appreciate the public notice component of that.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
debating the merits, I'm just saying in general, because we've been consistently
Yep.
listening to your concerns, especially when we talked about ADUs, that the public notification is then built in, and then our friends at the zoning board who live and breathe every single lot in town, to the extent that we don't, because we fly a little higher off the ground, not that they don't, but they get involved in individual lots in a way that we choose not to and don't. And that would allow them to literally do what they're good at doing, which is legislating individual lot concerns based on broad zoning guidelines that aren't hopefully too broad. I, Madam Chair, would find that very attractive. Again, as long as we are solving the problem that we were asked to solve.
Well,
And I don't-
He'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals, show that he had no room on the side.
Which he would be
and
able to
document
prove.
based on his very particular site layout and site conditions
And that's why.
that are unique for him.
That's why I'm intrigued by that idea, because I think I said this at a previous hearing. This is a zoning bylaw for the entire town of Yarmouth. And our town is so varied from front to back, Yarmouthport to South Yarmouth. There's so many different considerations. There's so many different size lots. There's so many different neighborhoods where, like, for instance, in my neighborhood, this just is not an issue at all. That doesn't mean it's not a real issue, because it's a real issue in other neighborhoods in my own town. And so I'm just hesitant, again, I'm just one person, I'm just hesitant to really put something out there that also I think we would all agree may not pass. And I think ultimately, and again, it's not the driving factor, but one of our considerations, I think, has to be, what was the problem we were asked to solve? And B, notwithstanding the recommendations of the select board members, and they've made themselves pretty clear, at least based on the initial draft, will it actually pass? And it would be interesting to me if we did choose, Madam Chair, to turn this, sorry, pun intended, ship a little in a different direction and defer to the ZBA a little bit more, and then have our public hearing. And then hear what actually people have to say who are living and breathing this stuff, and as Ms. Britta indicated, in particular neighborhoods, and Deirdre as well, where this might be attractive in the sense that it would go through a process with public notification, and individual quirky considerations would get handled by the right board, as opposed to us trying to, not arbitrarily, us trying to do our best to solve this problem ourselves. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I guess the only thing I would say is, I think when you and I were talking, Joanne, I thought you meant like a special permit to allow anybody to get one in the front. But I think, getting back to what Will was saying, let's limit it to solving the problem. There's a certain number of people out there who have boats that can't fit it to the side for very legitimate reasons. Give them the opportunity to go for a special permit. You may have people say, well, I could fit it there, but it's not convenient, and I want to get a special permit. Sorry, we're not solving everyone's problem today. We're going to solve the situation, which I think probably is far, I was concerned that there would be like, every boater would want to go and get a special permit, and that would overload the ZBA. But if we're just doing it for people who have a legitimate reason they can't get it to the side, it gives them some mechanism other than a variance to get relief because of a uniqueness of their site, then I think that makes sense.
Could we give some guidelines, though, Madam Chair, like we just did with the lobster amendment? Could we say, and the ZBA should please consider the length of the boat, the time of year, and the
number of boats.
number of boats, right? Like, we could still give some guidance, right, Susan? Because as you said earlier, ZBA didn't like it when it was too broad.
Right, they like guidance from planning.
Right, so maybe there's and I think we've sort of, through this process, come to, there's 3 or 4 main issues. And then we just let the ZBA legislate, as they are effective at doing, an individual lot decisions.
Yeah, and have our narrative with them reflect our concerns about seasonality, size, and number.
And that would, if
It
somebody had
covers
a,
those three.
and if there was somebody had a 40 or 50-foot boat, obviously that's not going to fit besides many houses, but that wouldn't be one to stick in a driveway either.
Right, but that's what BZA would say. They would make that, and especially when they notify the residents around them. The neighbors would step forward, hopefully, and say,
No.
This is seasonality on a trailer. We're
right,
not talking about storage.
but the word says storage,
Seasonality.
but it says parked or stored. So
So you're saying you still want to include the seasonality, so if somebody can't, never get it behind, to the side, no one gets an exception all year round.
Yeah, I think that's inappropriate, Madam Chair. If, if somebody can't get it to the side, for whatever that reason is, their lot isn't big enough, and they're going for a special permit through ZBA, then I think you have to grant them the right, if they're going to ZBA, to let ZBA do their work and make the decision to say, yes, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones, you can park your boat in your driveway as long as there's adequate parking for the cars, it's not in the street, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a fire hazard. I think we've spelled out everything we want, just how we rewrite it.
But it would include seasonality.
It would not, and if it's on a special permit.
This is where I was going.
Okay, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Sorry, that's okay. Some of us are boat owners. And when you buy a boat, it's like standing in a shower and ripping up $100 bills. We all know that. You need to know where you can put it in the off-season.
Sure.
And you need to know if you've got to go to the new Millway Marina and pay whatever it is, or you got to go to Ship Shops, or you got to go to a friend's house who has room at the side of their garage. That's what you got to do. I think my suggestion to Kathy was more about seasonality in the driveway so that they can use the boat. They can use it during April to November. But after that, if you can't fit it appropriately under our zoning bylaw, find another parking space.
So it would be what we have here, and this would be subject to special permit.
You'd only be eligible for the special permit
Yeah.
if you were unable to because of the uniqueness
That's what
of
I'm
your lot.
thinking. It's, sorry, I'm not sounding very nice, but you own a boat, you have responsibilities to take care of it and put it where you can. And if it doesn't fit next to your house,
Why buy it?
Yeah,
That was the purpose.
exactly.
That was the issue with the one in the
I
parking.
don't think that's
bottom
up to
of the
us to tell the person whether to buy it or
Yeah,
not, period.
I agree, but my point is that there are things you need to take into consideration if that's a particular recreational vehicle you want to own and use in the town of Yarmouth.
street.
Would the seasonality of it, the way we would word it as a special permit, what about the people, I do see neighbors who keep it by the side of the house, but bring it to the driveway in the summer, and I know they aren't allowed to yet, but I'm just saying that, would this permit them to just say, oh, now I can keep it in the driveway all year and I don't have to move it back?
I
We'd
would
have
not- That's not what I'm suggesting.
And we have to make sure that we can write it that
So
way.
their ability to properly store it behind the front line of the house, they're good to go on that.
Yeah.
But now they could apply for a special permit to actually have it in their driveway on a registered trailer and use it during the season back and forth.
And other people who simply have no way to put it beside or behind the house could apply for a special permit to have it out front all year.
No,
Only
seasonally,
seasonal.
Only seasonal, but then they would have to put it,
somewhere.
They would have to
Place
have
to
some,
store
it.
and they would have to have adequate parking. They couldn't
Right.
put it in front of the house and take away the parking that
Right.
goes in
That's
front
where
of
the
the house.
ZBA will pay attention to that. Where's your parking going to
Of course,
go? What are you
which is their
doing?
specialty.
okay.
But so this would not help the person who wants to pull it out in their driveway because it's easy access in and out during the boating season, unless it happened to be one of those lots that got a special permit because they couldn't put it to the side or
Okay.
beyond the place. I don't know if this is all going to fly with town council, but it's a very interesting conversation.
And as Peter just said to me, if it's okay if I repeat it, I think this will also help Mr. Grills.
Yes.
That, in the cases where people are in violation and there is a special permit in place,
He can
a
testify.
certain, which obviously some people will just have to get, then it'll be very simple for him to enforce.
And he will be notified with every application.
Right, and it won't, right, I don't know, that feels,
Yeah,
that feels good too. I mean, obviously, we don't know what the unintended consequences are gonna be, but it does feel like that could be a good, positive one.
Yeah, the intended consequences, though, if you do it with the restriction of seasonality, is he's gonna be spending his winter months
Right.
running around citing people who have their boats parked in their
But if they
driveway.
have a special permit, they're gonna know of the
Oh,
limitations, I mean, right, it's gonna be, they can still be in violation.
And the other thing they could do is, if they do violate it, they can make special permit just for a year, and you have to come back every year to get a special permit. If you violate it, you will not get one the second year. So they could put a restriction, they could put the special permit for a year only, kind of like we
That
did
would
with
be a
the.
condition. that
Yeah.
they-
So that,
With the seasonal motels, right, for some, for
Yeah, I mean,
our
we would
employers.
know if there were violations.
and that
We
way
have
the
that
board
in
can
our bylaw.
control.
Oh, sorry, right,
Oh, okay.
never mind.
Typically, I mean, what they will do is they'll take, people come back for a one-year review. I don't know what happens
what
in
it
that
is.
one-year review if they're not happy. But sometimes then they can get some additional compliance with that review.
The fact that it's a special permit with public notice is just a huge boost
Yeah.
for local, letting the neighbors feel that they've got some control over their environment. And the board, as you know, is very sensitive to that. They do listen to neighbors' issues and comments all the time.
So Kath, do you have enough to,
I do, but I could write something up. I'd want to run it by town council. I'm a little uncomfortable without you guys looking at it before I have to advertise it for the public hearing, because then technically it's kind of like out there. And usually you like to give some description of what the,
Can you work backwards, Kathy, just for a second with
Yeah,
us?
that's what I
on
was,
the dates?
actually, that's what I
So
was
we can
doing.
understand what you're saying, translate that
Yeah.
into actual dates?
Yep.
17th of September is public hearing,
Oh, boy, that's soon.
a month
Right.
away.
So by like the 29th of August, I'd need to
week.
send it to the Cape Cod Times for publication on the 2nd and the 9th.
Which means
But
we really
in
hope the town
preparation for
council is available in the next
That's
few
a week
days.
from Friday.
Right.
So I guess my point is you guys need to look, we've changed it completely.
Yeah.
So you guys need to look at it again.
Okay.
You know, and I'm wondering whether we just have a one agenda item meeting on next
week.
Wednesday and just kind of try and bang
Have to do.
this out.
Madam Chair, I'm out of town next week, but that's fine.
Okay.
Can we send it around for public comment back to you prior to the meeting, and they can be
course,
discussed
yes.
at the
You
meeting?
can provide me your written comments, and then when we'll just present it at the meeting, so everyone will know. Yep.
Will everyone else be available?
Let me just double
What is
check.
the date? That would be the 27th?
We'll need 4.
Yep, let me
August
just double check,
27th?
Madam Chair. Stand by, please. At 5:30?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
First pitch, 6:30.
Kathy, aren't we essentially just taking what we have here and just adding shall be conditioned further by special
I don't think it's
permit?
very complicated, but I'm out tomorrow, so I wouldn't be able to put the wording together until Friday, and then I don't know exactly how quickly town council would look at it. So I wouldn't even probably be, I mean, Monday would be the earliest I could get it out. And that's assuming I can get responses from town council. And then I'll run it by Mark. We'll probably have some good comments that we haven't talked about
But
tonight.
aren't we taking what's here on
It's
this
very
paper?
similar. I don't think it's super
Madam
complicated.
Chair, I could attend via Zoom, but I'd be happy to attend.
Yeah, I think, Peter, I think it's this language. And it's just, working in the language similar to the lobsters, where subject to a special permit.
And just for a second, if we,
Just for a boat that can't be located behind the front. We're not getting into anything else.
No, it's just
The
boats.
and if we could just put on one other hat, Madam Chair, before we go march on. If we put on if we pretend like we're on the ZBA, right? This doesn't feel like an overwhelming ask. Right? For certain, well, I'm just saying, it doesn't feel that way. Let me separate the issues. For the lobster, it's pretty clear. It's one. Most likely, one person is gonna come to ZBA to get a special permit to sell live lobsters.
Currently.
That's how it feels.
Yes.
It's based on current information.
Even he testified, he's probably the only guy in town that does this, so.
Right.
Right.
So whereas this would definitely, this could potentially, there could be a lot of people going to ZBA.
Yes.
But at least it would go through the right channel, just like other ways of making these kinds of decisions get made in our town, right? We're not, right? We're-
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Making
we, as we said, if we transmit to the ZBA the concerns we had, all of them, they then have a framework, and they also have the ability to prioritize things that are important. See, we had a hard time doing that, whereas the ZBA clearly can. And if the residents all step forward and say, the boat's too big, then that's going to be the priority for that permit. So that gives them a little more ability to, a little more leeway to come to a decision on each individual case, whereas we were trying to solve a collective and couldn't prioritize all the important things.
And then
I'll try.
You good?
I'll try.
Okay, all right.
I'm trying right now, but
And, you know, you can, will you try to get it out, fly by us by Monday to next week? It would have to be if we have the Wednesday meeting, right?
I will definitely get you what I have and run by Mark, because I cannot get access to him. I may not get the final comments from town council till the meeting.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Mark
you'll
is
have
important, though. He's as important as town council, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, he's very insightful. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say.
hopefully he'll agree with our definition of intended consequences.
Okay, on to the local comprehensive plan.
All right. You want to talk about the other stuff first before we go into the comments? About the format?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, we had the presentation to the board last week, and I thought it went pretty well. There was some, I think, a little bit of a misunderstanding with Selectman Forrest with regard to what's required for the capital portion, the capital chapter, Ken. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see the.
I saw parts of it.
But he was very concerned that, you know, about the money, and in our notes from Kathy, we've heard from FinCom, the chair of FinCom, again, you know, where's all the money gonna come from? And so they raised that issue. But I thought overall, it was a very positive meeting. The second thing we wanted to talk about is a realignment of the chapters in the LCP. As we were going through it, the chapter on action items, it seemed disjointed. You know, we went through the whole chapter 3 of existing conditions, things the town is doing, and then we jumped to housing, and then we jumped to, so when Kathy and I were talking, we're thinking of realigning that chapter and get it right up close next to, in front of the housing chapter. And we're going to clear that with the consultants, see if they can.
Yeah, I did talk to Jeff today, and that type of moving around is, Jeff Bagg, is no big of an issue. And I actually did look at, Brewster actually has it in that format, which I thought was interesting. So they have the existing conditions, all that information, and the next chapter brings you right to the targeted action items for all those things we've been talking about versus getting bogged down with some of these other chapters before you get to the targeted action plan.
Madam Chair,
The implementation
sorry.
matrix would stay at the end.
Can we talk about the table of contents for just a second, or is it
That
not the
was-
right time?
That was the other
The table
table.
of contents needs to be significantly expanded.
Okay, so so maybe after the meeting, I can give you all my thoughts?
Well, it needs to be much more detailed.
Right, okay,
Much
because there's a
more
pretty
detailed.
big jump between chapter 3 and chapter 4, and it's crying out for the natural built and community
Oh, yeah,
systems.
no, that's
to be
exactly
listed.
what, we're all on the
Oh,
same
okay,
page
okay,
on that.
sorry.
Yeah.
And then also a couple of appendices as well at the end, because we have all these abbreviations, but we don't call them out. I can do this after the meeting, Madam Chair. I
Okay.
don't want to take
That's
up our
fine.
time. Well, there's an abbreviation of funding services, and there's an abbreviation for responsible partners.
Yep.
And I think those should be listed as Appendix A and Appendix B.
Oh.
Because some people are going to want to have the ability to just go to like, what's all this, what are all these acronyms?
Jeff had talked about that in the
think he
last time
did.
we had live, and he
Couldn't
did say
remember.
that was gonna be added, that there would be an appendix with a.
Okay.
They're in there, they're just at the very end of the implementation matrix, and you're saying it might make sense.
I would say just
to
call
have
them
an
out and just call them what they are,
appendix.
which is, yeah. And there were also, I assume, just because of formatting, there's a bunch of page numbers listed in the table of contents that are not accurate.
Oh, yeah,
And I assume that'll just get fixed
yes.
in post, as they say.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So Kathy's going to run through in whatever speed you would like, Kathy. The comments that she has received, and hopefully you've been able
We're
to
in these now.
catch up with a few of them. But I'm going to let you run with it.
Sure. We've gotten a few comments in between what was in the packet and then some
there's other
supplemental
comments,
stuff
but not
that
the
I've
select
sent you. I think it would help us if we could kind of go through those comments tonight and kind of get an idea of whether you guys think we should be incorporating it, or maybe if that's a great comment, but not necessarily something we need to put into the local comprehensive plan. Then we can start, we being BSC group and myself can start, redlining some stuff so that we're not waiting until the very end to move things around. So basically, getting back to the select board meeting, there's a summary here. Liz Argo is going to work on providing some statistical information on how much solar has saved us. She wanted to emphasize that. And then she's also going to provide some additional information for the existing condition sections on these new upcoming solar opportunities. There are statewide incentives that are coming in December that I don't know anything about. She also had a good question about what would, she was just thinking, what does the town do in a particular emergency? And I do know that the fire department is working on a comprehensive emergency management plan. And I think that that's something that we should incorporate as an action item and coordinate with fire on that. It's probably something that we should also include in the hazard mitigation plan as well. So if those three sound good, we can work on incorporating those into the document. Liz noted that energy really wasn't in the capital plan, but I don't necessarily think we
It's
need
not.
to include that there. We have action items elsewhere for that. And then she was also talking about sustainability requirements in the zoning bylaw. My concern is mandating them, because we just had all of this mixed-use panel discussions with people about how much everything costs more and more and more. We're already a stretch energy code community, so that already increases housing versus, trying to add more requirements. I think there's a lot of people who are going to be interested in doing some of these things, especially if there's these particular incentives that Liz is talking about. But I just didn't think we needed to mandate.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just to
Yes.
touch on that, the energy management plans are part of the modern-day BOCA plan, which is the federal plan for building. We don't need to mandate it within the whole zoning article in this, so there's plenty of stuff on it.
That was my thinking as well. So Joyce didn't really have any comments that modified the amendment. She just was appreciative of the work and then referenced the municipal energy manager who might be able to help with some of the energy comments that Liz had. Mark Forrest, a lot of his comments, he was very positive about the whole LCP, felt it was readable and digestible. He did have a lot of comments about the capital budget, but I think he talked to the commission. They kind of talked him through what it's supposed to be, and he's comfortable with the level of financials that we have in there. And then Tracy was just kind of emphasizing that she really wants to follow the Cape Cod Commission process and get certification. Liz did send me an email that had a couple other things in it besides the things that we already went over. Basically starts with the Energy Committee. She's right, I mean, the 2021 is a while ago, and they really haven't accomplished those, but maybe I'll just modify it to say, I know that they've reconstituted themselves and they're working on their 5-year. So maybe instead of referencing the 2021, we can say they're working on it in the existing conditions, if that makes, looking to anyone to say.
Yep.
Yes.
We also wanted to be sure that where we're talking about EV chargers, we're talking about level 3, we can certainly add that in. And then one of the things that she mentioned, and this came out of the study, I think it was the presentation that Amanda Lima, the town engineer, gave about the study that they're doing south of Route 28. Your neighborhood's very involved in it with regard to sea level rise and egress and that type of thing. But what came out of that was, there's a lot of homes that are in the floodplain, and then when they want to elevate themselves, then they start running into the height restriction. But then if you get too high, then you have neighbors who used to be able to see something and now they can't. I think it's something for us to think about, but not necessarily something that needs to go into the LCP at this point. We talked about it briefly at one point and had all those conversations about, this was probably like 4 years ago, about the concerns with,
I think this is one of those things, Kathy, where, and there's going to be a few of these where, the LCP is going to have adds and subtractions once it's approved. And so we just put this on our kind of tick list to remember to think about this in year 1 or 2.
I'm not really sure we don't talk about the grant for the town common or library in chapter 3. We just mentioned the fact that we got some funding to look at a feasibility study for the town common, so think we need to do
I
anything.
thought we voted on a town meeting. We actually got a grant as well?
No. We got a library grant, but I don't know what,
I thought we voted at town meeting for money to study the town common.
$100,000.
Is that what
yes.
she's talking about? Okay, sorry. Okay, moving on. Okay.
Sorry, and that was just Mark Forrest's email. We did get a nice email from, oops, Robert Harding, he's on the Finance Committee, and again, his concern, as Joanne said, how are we gonna pay for all of this? And you're like, yeah, that needs to be a detailed analysis needs to go on in order to figure that all out, and when our debt drop-off happens and what we can insert there. I had a long conversation, the email exchange rather, with Mr. Zerbal. He lives in the Kingsway area and has really, really bad cell service. And there's a lot of people in that
Kathy, this
neighborhood
is
that are
Zerbal?
Zerbal?
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
it's right here.
Yeah.
The
Got it,
CEO.
yep.
Who are older people, maybe they have some medical alert type things, and about possibility of getting a cell tower there. I think that's something, I've had a lot more exchanges than this with him than what you see here. There's some possibilities of some things to further discussion. I hesitate to put too much into the actual LCP, because we just had the whole Blue Sky Tower where we had a lot of concerns about it. And if we start saying things about, putting in cell towers for coverage gap, that may be something that people point to and say, see, you already have it in your LCP. So this might be a thing, I personally think, that we can address outside of the LCP.
Right, I don't think we should get too granular. It gets too finite. That's such a pointed,
However, the issue is real.
oh, definitely.
And I
Oh, yeah,
live
definitely.
not that,
Yeah,
I mean, I live somewhat close to there.
Definitely.
And it is dead.
Very much so,
It
yep.
is a dead zone.
I
Not to
can't-
mention Forest Road, which is obviously in a different part of town, also a dead zone as it relates to the Blue Sky Tower. Sorry, Kathy.
No, I agree with you. Jay Grandy, he works for the town, obviously, is the interim economic development project manager. His one comment had to do with when we're looking at a community development corporation, maybe in addition to saying blighted or vacant properties, we add in gray and brownfield land. No harm in adding it in, it's just an expansion
That's right.
of it, so I'm fine with adding that in. Please let me know.
Yeah, that was, Mary Wagon had also mentioned
Yep.
Yes, and
comment on that same thing.
And that, yeah, and I had commented on the action item 8 on the housing, specifically talks about that as well. So there's no harm in bringing it together. One's a economic redevelopment, and one's more of a housing on those particular types of properties, so that made some sense. John Gullett, he was really interested in what we could do for undergrounding utilities. And we had some conversations back and forth about the cost of that and implementing that. And I don't know whether this is something that we might want to emphasize, that maybe we look at this on a project-by-project basis of potentially undergrounding. Obviously, any new subdivisions like the Davenport, all of that's required to have underground utilities. Anybody developing under our special optional overlay districts, that's a criteria of undergrounding your utilities. But there's things like Route 6A that has all those utilities that mar so many different things. And I know it was a discussion for the particular village center in 6A. So I didn't know how you guys felt, whether you wanted to try and, I don't know whether it gets incorporated in roadway, in transportation, or where it gets incorporated in.
But what would we say, what would we be saying?
Just a consideration of undergrounding utilities.
Be a priority or
Should be
something
a
like that?
consideration.
Yeah.
I think roadways would be the right spot for
Yeah.
it.
So does that make some, I mean, I'm going to redline it all, and you get to
Yes.
look at it. I just wanted to know where to start with some stuff.
I mean, that's the least offensive. Instead of putting in something like housing, you get all sorts of,
Right.
He also had some concerns about broadband. I really, and I mentioned the Gateway Fiber had come, and he actually watched the video of that. But I really kind of feel like that's a private endeavor. We support it in the sense of we're helping you, if you want to underground something, or if you need a permit to do something. But I really kind of see that more as a private endeavor. I'm not sure there's an action for the town to expand upon what we already have.
yeah. And it didn't, was it Board of Selectmen, or was it, I think Board of, didn't someone appear several weeks ago?
Yeah,
Provider?
Gateway Fiber.
Yeah,
They're going to be coming, so there'll be more competition.
That's correct.
Which will really help the situation, I think.
Someone commented, that person earlier you mentioned, the email, that they were very expensive.
Yeah, he did comment on that.
Although they sat there and they said they were going to be very competitive and that they would be affordable. It's going to be there.
Competition's always good.
Yep.
It always helps prices. That's why you don't want a monopoly. We kind of have a monopoly.
Like I said earlier about the 12 members of the condo that want to sell lobsters.
Yeah, exactly.
Drive those lobster prices right down.
We're giving them away.
Go back, Will.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
He was also interested in ensuring that we were promoting solar, and I think we have
Yeah.
that covered. Mary Wagon did comment from the community
If I
housing.
can, just
Oh,
for one
I'm
second,
sorry.
Kathy.
Sorry.
Gullett also had some specific comments about, this was his August 5th note. Maybe it was the same note.
About the town services, the triple
The
redundancy.
Triple redundancy to ensure community.
I need to check and see whether we've done, I think the police department's already done that.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's in the emergency, should be in the emergency plan as
It's,
well.
it's it's an action item, but I think it's been completed. So I sent an email to Kevin, but I haven't followed up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're right. I don't have any problem with adding the Community Housing Committee members as responsible parties for the 8
It's
action
okay.
items. That makes sense to me. They want to do as much work as possible, Deirdre, you go for it. And then Mary Wagon had reviewed the targeted action items for me. This was before the final version, but I got them so late, we couldn't really have a conversation about whether we wanted to incorporate them. We did incorporate some of the ones specifically to housing, but she had a bunch of other ones that I think we should talk about. Overall, she was like, wonderful, congratulations, and offered some comments. I also want to be clear, I feel like some of her comments are redundant in the sense that we have action items already, and we've really worked really hard not to duplicate action items, even though they may apply in so many different locations. So the first one is,
I'm not sure if you've had a chance to actually talk with her about these, but there's some of them, I don't know what she's referring to. Like the very first one, under water resources.
Yeah.
I don't know what a flow-neutral flow allocation,
I don't think it belongs here. And we already have something in the economy section about flow allocations, because we
I
have that
thought we did.
750,000 gallon per day build-out analysis for wastewater.
I would say even, I haven't seen it, but it would be even, I would assume, Ken, it's even bigger than that.
That's the new growth.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
based on the system coming
Based on
online.
the build-out that we.
Build-out,
analysis we
Sorry,
did.
sorry, yes.
Right, so
Yeah, yeah.
how does that get allocated?
I see.
Are we going to be emphasizing certain types of projects, like, say, a certain amount of it is allocated towards this or allocated towards that?
I see.
And we have that as an action item 13 in the economy section. So I don't think we need to add it here.
okay?
Yeah, any questions like that, I might be able to answer. So that's just this particular one here. Adding the RAC in the select board, though, as responsible parties, were good suggestions, and we can certainly do that in the implementation matrix for that economy action item. Let's develop a staff development plan. Again, this was before she had seen, they've already done that. They've been hiring people and training in-house to be water operators. So I think we've already got that covered. Continue to educate and promote water conservation and protection to all water customers. It's up to you guys.
It's fine, but as I was reading it, I'm learning that during the drought, and people who are on town water can't water their lawns, but people on well water can.
How many people are on well water in the town?
I'm surprised there seems to be a
There's
lot
quite a few, that, for watering.
for watering.
Water,
Oh,
yeah,
for like
yeah.
irrigation
Yeah.
Not gray water, it's well water.
It's just water.
well water.
Oh, okay.
The same water you're drinking, it's just coming from a different pump.
The same aquifer?
Yeah. You have to get a permit for that too, so.
So I was just thinking maybe it's not just water customers, but residents.
Oh,
That's all.
sure. That makes sense. Prioritize open space acquisitions would protect waters. We already have that covered.
Yeah, that was in.
Yeah, so, and then water resources. Continue with the fertilizer education program and other educational programs focused on reducing impacts from fertilizer and other products?
Others, no.
No? No, so just, in other educational, were you keeping part of it, or?
I don't, I think when we're thrown in others, unless you know what it is,
Oh.
it doesn't make it any more clear.
So just not that edit,
Yep.
7. Oh, jeez. It's been off the entire
Yeah, it
time?
has. Sorry. Well, I wanted to stop bothering you about it because it would distract you from your actual work.
I never look at it, because
Well, we just, I don't know.
you guys have
We
the things you're
adapted.
following.
Right.
Yeah,
but,
so we're good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Well, that's Kathy.
To develop and implement a low-impact development program, which would, for example, introduce strengthened LID zoning requirements.
What is
Low
low,
income, yeah,
what
low
is low
income
impact development?
has things like, a lot of the times it's your particular stormwater, maybe you have a green roof, maybe instead of treatment, you might have vegetated strips, you may have a rain garden or bioretention, you're like using porous materials versus pavement, you might be using porous pavement, you may be like going up to reduce your footprint of your impervious coverage, those types of things. I think those are things that we can think about as we're redeveloping. I don't think we need to develop a whole nother zoning requirement
No.
around this, personally.
Yeah, especially since we don't, the general population does not know what low-impact development is.
It's usually more of a rural thing
Yeah.
sometimes, because you need land in order to do all of these low-impact things.
Yeah, we just don't want to,
You know,
create problems where none exist.
I think it's a whole nother effort level that I'm not ready to take. Prioritizing open space acquisitions, again, we already have that.
Covered that.
Kind of duplicated. I appreciate her going through this and really looking at it.
Yep.
And Mashpee, she's chair of their planning board, are going through their local comprehensive. And they started earlier than us, I think, and they're way behind us. So I think she was very impressed with how far and the level of all of our information. So she was very positive. Number 3, yeah, again, we don't need to start doing all of that. Number 6, I don't know, that was something that was added because of a comment Liz Argo had at our May. I don't know, consider banning fertilizers? I don't know, next to wetlands, I don't know who that would impact. Maybe we say banning and regulating, I don't know. I don't even know how much work is involved with this. No one particularly commented.
I don't think that's part of this document personally, at all, so I'd leave it right out.
There had been town, I want to say Orleans, sorry, Ken. I think Orleans had a full-on fertilizer ban, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just saying, what I'm getting at is, the Cape is a beautiful mosaic of 15 towns. And I think, and as you just indicated, Ms. Wagon's also involved in another town in her other life. And I think we're just trying to see how some of these things can start to spread, no pun intended, maybe there was, across the Cape.
So were you thinking of not expanding it or to not having it in at all?
To me, not expanding it any further.
So just limited to wetlands, to waterways, I mean.
We can think about it. I mean, we don't have to answer the question on every single one
Well,
tonight.
why don't we hold that and see what the public has to say?
I mean,
section
and
is-
other water resources, I mean, that's the whole town.
Well, that's why I say you're stepping on a very slippery slope here. I mean, as Peter just pointed out, what is water resources? We're on a single source aquifer here. So do you ban fertilizer in the whole town?
I mean, again, it's happened in one town at least, or at least it passed one vote. I don't know if it got reconsidered. But that doesn't mean we have to
That's where I'm going with it.
make it a
Doesn't mean we
political
have.
issue in this document.
Right. Thank
I
you.
get what
That's
you're saying.
exactly my
I
point.
see what you mean.
And it took us 5 years to do plastic bottles.
So why don't we let it stand the way it is written
get comments.
in the document right now?
Yeah.
Number two, Brittany had already changed this
Right.
to evaluate invasive species management at parks and conservation areas. So that, again, this was a slightly earlier document that she was reviewing.
Space.
So yeah, I don't know what "and land steward program" means.
They exist. But I don't know.
I don't know enough about,
Know
I'm
of them.
hesitant to put something in that if somebody asked me the question, I couldn't explain.
I think
I
that's a
would leave it
reasonable
out.
answer.
If you don't know what it is, take it
Doesn't
out.
mean we can't do it. It just doesn't, doesn't necessarily be there. She added, under developing a list related to water resources and their buffers. No
Their
harm in putting
buffers.
that in.
Right,
Guess not.
it's okay.
It's all right.
She took out, and she crossed out the bottom line.
Cross that one out. Nancy.
Community design. In the first one, she, aesthetics, development aesthetics of commercial and, we had large-scale residential projects, she crossed that out. And then consider making them applicable to new development, raise and replace, and for redevelop. So she crossed out the substantial. The whole point of the substantial was, I don't want every single person who wants to do a tiny little thing on their property have to comply. You'd need to be like a full raise and replace or, that type of thing.
Well, then you have to define substantial.
Right.
Right, and that's what we need to do in the regulations,
That's what it says, to better define.
not here. I'm fine either way.
Keep going.
Yes, no, maybe so? Again?
Madam Chair, what do you think?
Again, we don't want it to be interpreted as every project.
Where
But
are you?
again,
Which- where
on
are you
action
doing?
number one, under built systems, community
Okay,
design.
got it.
I'm a fan of not using adjectives if you don't need to.
So substantial would
So,
not be,
and large scale.
So take.
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't eliminate them,
Right, and
doesn't
it's
emphasize
just telling us we need to look at this, and these are the kind of the
Yeah.
areas we need to look at. Number two, and other options to improve the likelihood of sewering
Securing.
state or federal
so
subsidy.
securing, I think it's securing.
It's securing.
This works, okay, depending on the final use. Rezoning of the,
I don't think we need,
I appreciate the suggestion, but I don't think.
It doesn't pertain to what that is.
I think it's related to housing might have the potential of generating more funding. I don't think it's needed.
now that I'm reading it again, a planned unit development, I'm not sure I know what that is.
where do you see that?
It's a
Oh,
type
plans,
of
yes, got
zoning
it.
overlay district in a sense, that we would be applying
That's
to that.
generally what we planned unit development?
It's called a planned unit
It is,
development.
okay. I should know that.
We don't do it.
So why don't we put a period at the end there?
Planned unit development. There is a period there.
There is, she made it a
She
comma.
made it a comma.
Comma,
Maybe there wasn't a
Put it on
period. We'll
there.
definitely make sure there's a period there. Provide local zoning and other incentives with architectural site design standards as an attractive alternative to aggressive Chapter 40B comprehensive permit development. I don't think we should be adding that.
No, it's the same as number one, essentially.
And we're already doing it in a sense. We have all these optional overlay districts. That's the reason why.
Can I ask a question?
We have
Kathy,
them.
what do we decide on number two? Are we dropping her suggestions?
Yes.
Yes.
Just finishing,
It's
we're
gonna-
not gonna do the option piece.
No.
Good, okay.
It's the brownfield,
Oh, yeah.
We already
gray
have that in,
Yep.
already in, so I don't think we need to add it here. Dippity-doo. Keep going.
Yep, that's done.
I really feel like number 9 is kind of covered under number 5. Publicly funded projects in a
Oh, we
cost-effective
went to here
manner.
now. We're in climate
You know
mitigation.
what she's trying to say. But I think, either you can expand number 5, I wouldn't add another item for it.
So maybe you just add on to 5, to promote and support the climate mitigation energy goal. Well, of course you're going to, no. I would cancel the whole thing.
5 says it very concisely.
You don't need to, of course it's supporting the climate mitigation energy goals. That's why it's on this page.
Okay, moving on to waste management. Number 8, I'm hesitant to require that. I know that they do as many things as they possibly can to provide hazardous waste days. Textiles, there's those bins there. They don't need a special collection day for textiles.
I have a suggestion, though. I do appreciate the where this is coming from. Instead of amplify and expand, you could always use the more general consider, or, if anyone else is passionate about this particular issue, instead of declaring that the town must or should, it would be more of a consideration. So you're calling out the issue without requiring the town in its own LCP to actually execute on it. Does that make sense? If anyone else feels strongly about this issue. Consider the expansion of collection days.
Run it by Roby, too.
Right, just like consider, I would say, consider the expansion of collection days.
Right, but I,
Could be a general,
Right,
if
but-
at all, Madam Chair.
yeah, of course, but I think 8 and 9 need to be combined. She just separates out
Oh,
organic
right.
materials. in
Organic
9.
materials, there's already a place there for all of your organics,
right.
so it's done. If you go to the transfer station, there's a place where, like, all your food waste can go.
Right.
Yeah.
They've
know
expanded
that.
it too, so.
Yeah, so I think number 9 is actually done.
Okay,
And let me talk to Roby
Right.
about number 8 to see whether we want, she may know stuff, because like textiles, I don't think is a special collection day. Paper shredding maybe and hazardous materials, but
But
me
love
talk to
paper
her.
shredding.
Hazardous materials, that's not very frequent. I
it
know
is.
Quarterly, I want to
But
say?
I think it's, I don't know whether it's a cost thing, like even like things like Sharps containers, they're finding that a lot more people are asking for the Sharps containers, and they give them out, and they're very expensive. So they're asking people to really fill them up before you give them to us and to get rid of. So there's a lot of additional costs to waste disposal that have been encountered that may be impacting some of this. So let me just talk to Roby and see what she might feel comfortable including. She may say, yeah, that's great, let's put that in there.
Can I ask a question before we get to number 9?
Sure.
I thought we did number 7. Was the grist mill not restored?
Where are we?
Sorry.
Next
under
page.
Community system,
Community
community
systems,
character,
yeah.
cult.
The grist mill has been done.
Dam.
Oh, the dam, you're right.
Fish ladder was
But not the
completed.
actual mill?
The mill itself needs some structural.
Okay, sorry, then I was wrong.
It's this, if I'm not, the historic
Right, it was the
building
dam.
at the Baxter
Okay.
Grist Mill, yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
right.
There's no marked parking lot, so nobody knows where to go to
Right.
Yeah, we
see
need to
it.
have a sign
It's a
put up.
little,
This is a small parking lot, but it's like 50 yards away from the,
it's not well,
It used to have a sign.
Yeah.
It needs a new sign.
okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
Number 9,
Should have a sign.
I think that's already kind of covered in number 1, which is,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm looking at it.
Agreed.
Related to development of historic Yarmouth initiatives to identify, preserve, and protect historic resources. You might want to, if you're going to do anything, maybe you want to expand the language of 1 versus putting in an entirely new action item.
I think it's covered in 1, Kath.
Just leave it as is.
Yep.
And
right, so let's look at,
the economy. We have 16 action items in the economy. I'm not inclined to add anymore. The question becomes, are these kind of covered in action item 7 already? I'm moving it for you, but you can't even see it, which talks about incubator programs to help build industries in town. Maybe you could say and promote local products if you want to expand it. Just don't want to add 2 more. They're good ideas, it's just, I feel like we kind of have them covered.
so I don't think we need 17, right?
Maybe just grab a couple of the key words there, Kathy, and throw them into number 7.
Incubator programs to help build industries in town.
Development of incentive
Which,
programs.
for example, which could include, low-cost office space, shared commercial kitchen.
I just think we're getting too specific.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think it's too granular.
I guess I would say in 7, incubator programs to help build industries in town, which is already there, and promote local products.
Oh, okay.
Promoting
That
local
sounds
products
fine.
is a good idea.
Yep, I think it's a good idea.
And, housing, I think the one thing that didn't get incorporated, Betsy Group didn't put in the 62, she wanted to reference the 62 affordable unit housing production goal annually, which we can add that into one. We had already addressed these, we made that change, and we added number 8, but we did not add number 9, because we already felt it was addressed elsewhere. So that one's already kind of been done, because it was related to housing.
So 8 is out, right, Jeff?
8 is actually in the.
In the new
it's in-
version,
It's in
Madam
there,
Chair. Oh,
it's in
okay.
there,
In this
it's
version
in
you have.
here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this version has it,
Got
I'm
it.
trying to follow
Alrighty.
along.
Yep. We used this and we actually talked about this page, so it got incorporated.
What about number 9?
That's covered under
think we've
action
already covered
item
that.
2.
Right. Affordable, through the contingent.
And it actually is, it's item 3, because that has to do with workforce housing. So that's covered in 3, I
Yep.
think.
Yep, so that's not necessary.
Yeah, it's in town services already.
But it's number, she put number 2, but it's really 3.
It's really what?
It's 3, number 3, investigate waste, variety of incentives.
Oh, okay.
Ken, are we already doing number 2? Didn't we develop a capital maintenance plan for municipal buildings?
Yeah, well,
5 of them.
It's in the process of it, yeah.
But I mean, so I do agree that capital is an important word to add in here, right? Not just the maintenance, it's the capital plan as
Sure.
well.
Yeah, I think that's fine. She asked a question about number 4 for the clinic.
Yes. I'm answering her question.
I don't think we need to add anything, but it's more of a question.
Yeah.
It's for, yes.
That is why. In fact, I think they've actually expanded it. I think it's at least 1, if not 1.5 or 2 at the police department.
Yeah. They're just saying that they're losing grant funding for that position.
Retain, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the important word, the verb. Sorry.
We just want to make sure, emphasize that that's something important that we really want to continue, even if it has to
Oh,
be built
because it's
into the
for,
budget.
yes, it is. And yes, it is.
She had a lot of different items with regard to the health section, which I don't know anything about. And if we don't really have a health director right now, I could talk to Barry and Mark, but I hesitate to, I don't even know what a public health strategic plan would be.
Again, this is kind of granular. You talk about speakers, it's a
Yeah.
little too detailed, I think.
We're doing a 10,000-foot flag
Right,
over here
right.
to some degree. But I do appreciate the fact she went through this
She did.
with a.
Yeah, she did a great
deal
job.
of-
She
She did
did.
a really good job.
You really did.
Mary. Number 3, I don't think we need to add in all those things. This came directly from Diane Kane, that's
Okay,
for that.
Yep.
I mean, you can add it if you want, but I don't think it's all that necessary. Evaluate addition of an exercise room with equipment at this, and promote fitness programs. I don't have a problem with that, but it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
They do that. They have chair yoga and they have a bunch of stuff. They do a good job there. Amplify adult education programs with the recreation library departments and with local institutions such as the Cultural Center of Cape Cod.
I thought
I feel like we had
thought
something,
we
we
did
did
something.
nonprofits, and it was somewhere else. I didn't have a chance to find. Remember, we originally had put in the Cultural Center of Cape Cod, but we
Yeah, and then
made it
we
more
added-
generic.
we added a couple of other ones.
It was the Historical Society of Old
Yeah.
Yarm, but I think we took out the specificity and left it. I can't remember where that was.
Yeah, but I think we're already, I think for at least the South Yarmouth Library, we're already doing that.
We are. They
I
do
mean,
a
It's just a part of their life.
I don't think we need to add it.
I-
I think
I
it's
don't-
happening now.
No.
And then we say amplify, what does that mean? Like, you have 50 programs, so now you need 60 programs, and then there's 70 programs?
Or make them louder.
Make them what?
Make them louder.
Yeah.
And then, just had a comment about, and a possible community center as a component of the reuse of the site.
I don't think that needs
I
to
think
be.
that goes without saying.
That's
so,
redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Okay.
So that's good input, and I'll try and start redlining to get this going, so that when we go on the 3rd, we'll have a red line items, and then for at least some of them, if not, and if there's some obvious ones that we receive before then that I can make some judgment calls on, I'll put those red lines into.
Will there be another one of these then before the public hearing? Okay, and will you be able to, it just says draft 2025, will you put some sort of more definitive, like September 2025 or something, so we just make sure we're using the right copy?
Draft 2.
Something like that. That would make more sense.
Final
Ken.
draft.
Final draft. Final.
Better.
It's even better, right.
Pentultimate, because there'll be comments.
Yeah, you know, if anybody has any good pictures that they think would fit really nicely in the LCP, please send them to me. I think we need more pictures.
Pictures.
Yeah. I got some from the chamber that I think we can insert in. And some of them are already in here, like of the different events and stuff. But, you know, if you have some great pictures of something, send them to me and we can see where we can incorporate them in.
All right.
Thank you, Kathy. Next on our agenda, Mattakees Utilization Committee.
Oh, yeah. That's still going on. They met on August 11th and reviewed 3 different bubble diagrams from the consultant. We also got a request from the chamber to come and talk about a large sports complex. So the chair is trying to get them to come to the September 11th to help guide some of those bubble diagrams. They didn't really make any decisions on them. We also had a separate meeting with the housing people to make sure that we were on, John Barr and then Myra. We met with them and Bob Rittenauer and the consultant, just to kind of make sure that we were on the right track. There was some concerns at the workshop about the use of the word duplexes. So I think that got all clarified, and they're relatively happy with that. So we need to get a little bit more input from the committee on the bubble diagrams before they try and move a little bit more into the conceptual plans, which I think is going to be something that it's going to take longer than the end of the year. I think the schedule's slipping a little bit, but I think it's slipping in order to get more information that's important to know to make some of the important decisions on it. Sometimes faster isn't always better, so that's that. Oh, I'm sorry, the next meeting is September 11th.
11, great day.
Next on our agenda is Design Review Committee. I meant to make a note of this at the beginning. One of our members, Jim Sabin, has submitted his resignation, and we're so sorry to lose him. Maybe he'll come back, we'll see. That would be great if you could, Jim. But he serves on an important committee that Kathy is staffed to, the Design Review Committee. And I was wondering if anyone here wants to jump on that opportunity.
Madam Chair, I'd throw my hat in the ring after I'm done with capital budget. I would like this, I had promised to get through capital budget this year.
Yep.
Post the capital budget run for this year, I would, if at all possible, I would like to go on design review.
And anyone else?
So could you please clarify, when does the design, is it as needed?
Can I just get, maybe a little brief. My concern right now is with the passing of Charlie Adams. He was on the Design Review Committee, and the resignation of Jim. I have 3 members, and sometimes some of those members travel, sometimes they have medical issues of their own. So I don't want to be in a situation where I can't get quorum for a meeting.
How often do they meet, Kath?
They meet as needed, and I would say maybe they meet 6 to 8 times a year.
Kathy, what's a quorum? 4?
3.
3?
Is it typically at a certain time of day or day of the week?
Yes, we've been trying to hit Tuesdays at 4. But there's no set time. So sometimes if for some reason we can't get quorum and we have to meet on a Thursday, as long as everyone can do it, it's fine. I'm just afraid that we're going to have some projects coming up and I may not be able to get quorum.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm sort of without a committee at the moment, so I can keep that seat warm for Ken. I was going to probably ask for reassignment at whatever time in the future. Anyway, I might have been I think it's probably time to maybe do something different.
Okay, all right, well,
So,
that could
but-
be an option, because you'll be, well, let me see, anyone else interested?
No, because I was,
Okay.
I don't think I could do capital, because listening to the time commitment from Ken, I know I probably couldn't do that.
All right, so we'll focus on that in the fall.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
as I said,
when yours wraps up,
the first of the year, basically. I mean, it goes until budget season's done.
okay,
So I'm committed, and I said I would do it
Yes.
for this capital season, and I'm all for it. They do great work, but for many reasons, one of which Peter just touched on, it is a huge time commitment, and, I want to do it for this year, but I'm put it on record that this will be my last year
Yeah.
on capital budget.
And Madam Chair, it is not the first time someone in this committee has put it on record that 2 years of the capital budget committee has really got to be the max for anybody from the planning board, unless, of course, they have a passion and an availability for it. Thank you.
so we have to go through the process of
You
them
could just
accepting the resignation, right? We don't know, do they have to,
I think they're going to accept his resignation on Tuesday,
okay,
I'm assuming. I'd like to take a vote to put Peter in, and then if for some reason, who knows? Jim keeps calling. He's probably watching us right now.
Hey, Jim.
So I don't know. I think I would like it if he might eventually come back.
so may I have a motion to have Peter Slovak be our representative on the Design Review Committee?
so moved.
Second.
Oh, can be me. Damn.
Who seconded Ken?
All in favor?
Ken got it.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 6, 0. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Ken.
Meeting minutes.
Meeting minutes. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of August 6th, 2025?
I have a copy of them.
So moved.
Oh,
Where is
second.
it?
I'm sorry, who?
Ken.
I moved it.
And then me. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Committee updates. Any committee updates? Quiet 2 weeks, I guess.
We did have a housing
Oh, you
meeting
did? Okay, Deirdre, thank you.
where Mary was delighted with the comprehensive plan and talked about it a lot. And she presented a couple of applications for the community preservation funds. Basically, one was a pretty routine funding process, and the other was a conversion of a buy-down program, changing it to have the funding available for the mixed-use projects on Route 28.
Oh, nice.
Because the buy-down program apparently has been totally unused because real estate's so expensive, and so this is an application to convert the funds from that one to the other. And in discussing that, she also suggested that she would like to organize a gathering of the community housing and the Affordable Housing Trust and the Planning Board to discuss, to have a presentation on the mixed-use project that we have been following, and I'm really a little unclear of, is it totally finished now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any, has Mary mentioned that to you, that idea? Anyway, it's something that she just brought up, and I'm
I'd have to
She,
get
she
it.
was suggesting that we have a presentation to those,
Present to
when they
those
have a joint
groups.
committee meeting.
Yeah, to
on
those
the-
two.
On the final report.
Yeah.
Any timeline on that?
No, it was just that it would be nice because everyone's so interested in the whole mixed-use concept. And so I think that's something that
Yep.
she'll probably suggest it again.
Yep.
And I'll see if I can be more on top of
Just the
some details.
consultants are done,
Yeah.
so the presentation, we'd have to
Have
get
to
the
be, yeah.
presentation.
Yeah.
Have they received the report? The final report? The funding came from them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it did not. Oh, this was a different grant, sorry. I'm thinking of short-term rentals.
Yeah, no, this is a community planning grant. We can certainly do that, it's just, I can't add one more thing.
Yeah, can we just send them, why don't we send them the report? Let's send them the report. And then,
Yeah.
if you could be our conveyor, when Kathy has time, we'd be more than glad to go through it.
January 1st.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I can also, I mean, the presentations were given by the consultant at our meetings.
They're
And
recorded.
they could look at it.
They could look
They
at,
could look at
they could,
those,
and I
that's
can,
right.
and I
Look at the
can
videos.
give the links to that as well.
Oh, that's a good idea, Kathy.
That's a great idea, thanks. Yeah. And then also, as somebody brought up the point that was in the LCP comments, that they wanted to have the Community Housing Committee mentioned as on that, the responsible parties category, but that's
More the
already in there.
merrier.
There you go,
Madam Chair, can I ask Deirdre a question?
certainly.
I thought I heard it at one of the recent select board meetings. Has there been any discussion on the Forest Road property? I thought I heard a blur, I heard somebody say something about it. Did anybody else catch that? That it didn't get any RF
Didn't get any,
response.
it didn't get any
RFP.
responses. And they have not had any further action, but the day after the meeting that we had, they were supposed to meet again to try and decide what they want to do with it, or just keep the
They
discussion
being
going.
which entity?
The Housing Authority.
Housing Authority, right.
Joe Glynn said something
That's what it
about
was.
that.
That's what he
Yes.
said, yeah.
Yeah, he
So-
said that he'd be more than happy to come to the select board, I thought, and
I
give
don't-
some updates.
That,
I do think it's something our antenna should be, well, it hasn't gone down, but it feels like it's something that's just sort of out there, but it certainly has certainly has a lot of people's attention in terms of
Right.
where it goes from here, and I would just hope that between all of us, guys and gals, we could just try to keep each other
it-
educated on it.
it comes up at every housing meeting, and Drew Kraus says, no, we have nothing more to
Okay, well,
report.
obviously, if something does, you'll tell us.
I
Okay.
will
Okay,
keep
sorry,
my
and I wasn't,
ears open. That's good.
I wasn't thinking that you didn't, I just wanted to know if there was
But
anything more.
I was forgetting to mention it, so.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Barbara, Barbara, Joey and I have an update on the library.
Oh, library.
Library committee the project committee had sort of an open house, open hearing last Wednesday, two hearings in one day, one at 1 o'clock and then another one at 7 o'clock, same presentation. Well attended, at least I could not go to the 7 o'clock one, but I came to the 1 o'clock one, it was well attended. Interested people, a lot of it was just comments about this, great idea, keep going forward. And the architects did a very good job about not raising expectations. We were at the very beginning. This is, everything we're telling you now is up for grabs. We're going to talk about it. We have made no decisions. And that was because, as you can imagine, people got up immediately and said, what are you going to do about the ball field? We're not even at the ball field level yet, kind of thing. But I thought it was well attended. I thought they did a very good job. I did not go to the one at night, so I didn't. So I was just too tired, so I couldn't go. So I assume it was as well attended as the noontime one, but the room was filled at the 1 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, it was good.
Susan, just real quick, has anybody here been to the Eastham Library since it opened?
Yeah,
I have.
yeah,
And those are the same architects.
yes.
So we're in good hands. And I know that they
We're
have a
very good.
different kind of natural setting when you see that where their library is. It is spectacular what they
Although we
did.
have some very positive natural
No, agreed.
elements, yeah.
I'm just saying that given what they did in Eastham in a very, very interesting location, They made it feel very, what I would just say, capey, but also incredibly effective, efficient, and just a place you want to be.
No, they're
As
very
a
good.
community place, Madam Chair, not just a library.
They're very good.
So I'm really excited to hear
It
that
was
they're
in their
the
presentation, so if
architects.
you watch
And I
the
missed it. I
video.
will have to try to watch the
Yeah,
recording.
they include that as
Do
an
they? Okay.
example, and
Yes.
they kind of talk about how they laid it.
If you have a reason to be in Eastham, Madam Chair, hopefully not with the boat, but in your car, it is worth your time for 15
The way
or
they
20
situated
minutes.
on the site is
It's
awesome.
amazing. It's amazing.
It's a very well thought out, well-designed building.
And that gives me a lot of comfort, given all the interesting constituencies
Yeah.
that are interested in the new location for our potential library about how they'll execute it. Thank you, Madam
And we're
Chair.
meeting again next week. We'll be meeting next week.
Okay. Any other committee? I have just one quick board member item. Kathy, the Cape Cod Commission has extended the deadline for RPP comments. Is it something that we should be officially responding to? Would it be a good thing to do?
I don't have any particular concerns with
Okay.
what they're doing, because we're so heavy into our own local comprehensive plan.
Even if we just wanted to say be responsive in some way as a planning board?
Yep. And I saw the extension, but I didn't see how long it went
I
to.
didn't bring it with me.
Yeah, I didn't,
We can talk about it, we can talk about it later.
yeah.
You did send us the differences.
Yeah,
that.
which was pretty mild. And they did, I'm sure the PowerPoint is also on their website. It
Website,
kind of
yeah.
talks about what their action items are, and they all seemed very reasonable. They didn't, there's nothing that caused me an alarm, like, ooh, what are you doing there, and that type of thing.
All right. Okay, if you don't see any,
With everything else we have going on, I don't see us having the time to delve into that
yep,
in
that's,
in any deep way,
that's fine.
meaningful way.
Are they addressing the threshold at all? Does it come?
That would be outside the RPP,
Okay.
but they are talking about it.
for the GRI, you mean?
The 99.
Oh, 9,999.
Okay. Correspondence and staff updates, Kath, anything?
I just want to thank Kathy in her staff update about the update on the town's app/mobile functionality. It seems like that's a 2026 project, or early 2026. No, that's okay. It feels like is it fair to say there's momentum, Kathy?
They're working on it, and again, they're working on.
Sounds like momentum.
They're working on the website, too. So
Are
if
they?
you have any specific comments, send it to Paul Chaffee,
As an
IT
example,
director.
today we got an alert I got a text alert about the hurricane, and I gladly clicked on it on my mobile device,
Couldn't see
and
it.
it was practically unreadable from my phone. Literally practically unreadable. So, it's, again, not a,
Because it was so tiny? and
yeah,
you-
because every time you use the town's website on a mobile device, which again, I appreciate there are many of us in this room that don't use our mobile devices, in that way, but there are a lot of people that do, and I'm just staggered, as I've continued to be Madam Chair for the 5 years I've served on this board, that we have not been able to mobily optimize our own town website, given the constituents of our town who are under the age of 50. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rubenstein.
Welcome.
Upcoming meetings. We are going to meet next week,
Yes.
the 27th. Then we will meet again on September 3rd. All right, Kath?
Yep.
Our public hearing on the amendments will be the 17th.
We also probably, your rules and regulations say you're supposed to do the officers and committee assignments on the 17th.
On the 17th?
It's the second one, it's the
Yep.
second meeting in September, they said.
Were you allowed to defer that, Madam Chair, just given the nature of the 17th already and the crowd that will be here, or do we just do it at the end of the meeting after the crowds
I would
leave?
do it at the end of the meeting. The only reason I say that is then there's those, the dates for the subdivision control signatures
Ah.
are a certain time of the year, and we don't want that to lapse. I don't think we're going to have anything that's going to need a signature, but you could probably do that at the end unless you think it's going to be a more long, drawn-out thing. You don't have to do the committee assignments, but we should do the officers.
Can I ask a question about the 17th, Madam Chair?
You may.
So we're going to have, I would assume, a crowd on the 17th. Who knows, virtual or otherwise. And then, based on that, we then close the public hearing, and then do we take a vote that night?
You can
In the
deliberate,
timetable that we have in front of us for the special town meeting?
you can deliberate, or, you know, if you still, if there's some things that you think, well, I want to have some additional edits, you know, we can still talk about it before we submit it. We have a little bit more time on that with regard to when we need to bring it to the select board.
But do
But
we,
the next meeting is going to be the public hearing on the LCP, so that's going to be pretty busy.
that's why I'm asking. So
If you feel comfortable, you,
we'd be prepared to try to
Yes.
resolve whatever we need to resolve in order to recommend the amendments to the select board on the night of the 17th.
if you can, depending on what happens at the meeting, but that would probably be the most ideal, because then the only other time you would have would be probably the 15th of October.
That would be
Because we're
it.
going before the select board on the 21st of
Or
October.
21st.
So there's a little cushion in
Yes.
case, but
Yeah.
not a ton. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to think out loud, because where we are in the process.
So October 15th is really the drop dead date. You'd like it not to be then, and we certainly don't want it well, it could be October 1st. If we deliberate and we don't vote.
Or maybe we vote on one, but we can't decide on the other, and there's a single amendment to decide on
Yeah.
first.
I think it's going to be a lot to do in one night. I think we should have the public hearing, and then if we have to, because I think it's going to be real, I think we'll hear a lot, as we always have on these two issues. And there may be some legitimate things that we're going to want to change. And sometimes it's easier to do when we're not sort of in the flush of public hearing and emotion. It might be easier to do it our deliberations might be easier to do at another hearing, at another meeting.
An additional meeting, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to think it out loud, Madam Chair. I certainly don't come to meetings to ask for more meetings.
Because those, yeah, because.
But I do understand where Ms. Britta is coming from.
Well,
No,
that-
I'm
and
just
that-
saying that because
yeah,
we have
definitely.
time, we only have a certain amount of
Right,
time.
I know, and that meeting can be very long, that public hearing can
No,
be
I don't
long.
disagree with you. All right.
I don't know how to get the word out to the voters. I know that that's one of the, maybe it was an email comment about, there's a bunch of voters in town who don't know about this. But I also would like to think that most voters would be in support of it because it provides more options. It's not taking anything away from them, so it's kind of like the rest of the
Let the
community.
chip shops and Millway and all those guys know about it. They'll let their voters know about it, so.
Now would be the time to tell them about September 17th.
Yes, it'd be good to have like the notice that I could send.
Okay.
Do we allow non-residents to speak?
Yes, we do. I learned that this week.
You have to get permission from the moderator.
What-
Oh,
what kind
no,
of-
it's
Meeting or
town
in this
meeting.
room?
No, in this room.
No, in this
Oh, I'm
room.
sorry. I thought you
In
meant
this
town meeting.
room,
Yeah,
the public is anybody.
okay.
Mary Maslowski met with all of the committee chairs on the open meeting law, because there have been some minor adjustments to it. And she walked through, and I raised the question, that exact question, Peter, when you were sitting next to me at our last meeting, thinking that the person had to be a resident. No.
Do they have to let them know that they're not a resident of
You
the town?
can ask them you can ask them for an address, but they don't necessarily have to answer.
So when they come up to the microphone,
But they have to identify
they have to
themselves.
identify themselves and
do.
give their address? You're saying they don't have to give their address
Don't
anymore?
necessarily have to give, I think,
You can ask people,
We asked.
Most people just give it
Yeah.
because they have nothing
We
to
ask
hide.
Right,
but any member of, the public is any member of the public.
but that's not the case at town meeting.
No, it's not a town meeting.
was there anything else that came out of that was a surprise to you?
No, not, other than, I did want to talk to you. Mary recommends that, similar to the agendas for Finance Committee and CPC, or maybe even Zoning Board of Appeals, there's a standard
Public
piece
comment.
about other matters not considered bloody that we didn't think of in time. It's like, so that we can legally talk about
Like
other
du-
stuff.
Like other duties as assigned
Other
in your
duties as
job
assigned, yeah.
description.
So there's, I know there's language in other,
Yep, I know what you're talking
yeah.
about.
So we.
Did she say anything about having a public comment period? I know that we've had discussions about that before.
I was wondering that too.
No?
I don't believe you
For-
right.
Like the select board have on their agenda, public comments.
Right.
Oh, that is completely at the discretion of the chair.
Okay.
And if, you know, again, she advises that to the degree that you want to have public comments, we could have that as, for any one of our public meetings, have that as an opening. But if you don't have it, then it would fall under that, oops, I didn't think about it in advance clause, and we could entertain.
I think it's at the discretion of the chair, if,
Yeah.
under any agenda item, if you want to take
Yeah.
comment from the
That's,
public.
that is my understanding as well.
Okay,
Okay.
good update.
Well, that was a meeting, a committee meeting I attended. Sorry about that. Forgot to tell you. Anyway, we all good with dates? Kath, okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks very much, everyone.
Hey, Kat,
That East Ham Library.
volunteer for
Recording stopped.